Welcome back, everybody. Well, today it is the 4th episode of Live Cityline Real on Race. It'll tackle microaggressions as a form of anti-black racism. And of course, the incredible host, Cityline's own Tracy joins us live once more to talk about this important discussion. Good morning, T. How are you?
I'm good, Dee. I just had this moment where I looked in the monitor and I realized I forgot to put on my fake eyelashes.
You always look beautiful. You don't need them, T, okay? You're like, oh, I forgot something today. Oh, it's my lashes. We'll worry about that later. Let's talk about last week, because you did mention the topic, as you do every day, was white privilege, white fragility, and the feedback is always fantastic. So tell us what people had to say.
Oh, they had a lot to say. Listen, I loved this talk because I loved the analogies. We talked about being on a moving escalator. And it's not that you're being intentionally awful. It's that you have to walk in the other direction really fast in order to be anti-racist. And it was just a good way of framing the discussion. So people said things like, thank you for tackling this so thoughtfully and bringing on such insightful guests to help us navigate these challenges. And of course, some people took major issue with the whole idea. Listen, you hear white privilege, you hear white fragility, and you feel attacked. And that's what we were trying to get away from, but it's going to happen. So some people said, listen, white privilege is a lie. I am white, and I'm doing a lot worse than a lot of black people I know. They're talking about wealth privilege. But what was interesting is that a lot of the other commenters would jump in there and explain that you can be poor and still have white privilege. It is about your complexion. It's about a system that you're moving through. We should do a whole other thing on class and wealth at some point, because that's a whole other issue that we can also dissect. But lots of comments from everyone.
And we are hearing the term microaggression a lot. What is a microaggression, T, versus a macroaggression?
So they call it micro not to say that it's small. It's more to say that it is something that happens between individuals versus something that happens systemically. So a microaggression, it is far from small. It is subtle, it is sometimes veiled, and it's something that happens again and again and again. Dee, if you're in a room with all men having a meeting and no one makes eye contact with you and they won't let you finish a sentence and they keep cutting you off, those are microaggressions. For me, I'm going to give you a few that I've had in my life. You're not like other black people. Oh, you speak really well. Hey, is your hair real? Can I touch it? All sorts of things. And they build up over time. And one way to think about them is like a mosquito bite. You get a couple of mosquito bites, it's no big deal. But you keep getting bit all the time, every day, subtly. And over a lifetime, it adds up to a lot of harm and a lot of damage.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts. Every single time you're anticipating it or you're not, there it is, and it's that constant stinging all over your body, microaggression after microaggression, and you might not know you're doing it unless we learn and talk about it. Speaking of, you always have an incredible panel of guests. So who will be sharing in that topic of microaggressions today with you, T?
I'm going to tell you who the panelists are because they're really going to walk us through some really good topic matter. We've got Joseph Smith, Dr. Joseph Smith, who's a TDSB educator. We have Jody Glean Mitchell. She's the Director of Anti-Racism and Cultural Diversity at the University of Toronto. And we have Cityline's Carlin Purcell, who's really going to dive into the emotional toll that microaggressions can take. And I want to say this. We all have doled out microaggressions. We can all do better. So we want to talk about what happens if you are on the receiving end and someone might have thrown it out there not knowing any better. I've done it before, and I've gone home and thought to myself, my goodness, why did I say that?
Yeah, I'm sure
I've done it too. And now how do I fix it?
Yeah,
how do I fix it? So we're going to talk about that. Do I call the person up? Do I say, my goodness, that came from a place of ignorance? I wasn't thinking. Do we let it go and just try and be a better human in your next interaction? We will have all those answers for you. We're going to discuss it all today on the show, and that's YouTube at 3 o'clock. And I just want to mention Cityline, of course, is coming on after Breakfast Television Canada. Don't miss that, because we're talking about sunscreen for all of the different skin tones, as well as power washing your deck and indoor games for a rainy day with the whole family.
I love it all, T. Again, don't miss it. Cityline Real on Race today, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on Cityline's YouTube channel. And yes, tune in to Cityline Live right after BT Canada. Love you, T. At Cityline for more. We'll be back with BT Canada right after this.